don't talk about books a whole lot on this channel, but they are a huge part of my life. So I want to do quarterly book updates. So today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the first quarter of 2022. I could start at the top of the stack, and I think I might as well do that. So I'm just going to dive in to the books that I read, and then at the end, I want to talk about a reading challenge that I did. So first, the book on top is actually just a dust jacket because I'm currently reading this one, and I could probably finish it in the next day or two. It is Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. It is the collection of short stories associated with the Lunar Chronicles. So I read the Lunar Chronicles first, and then now I'm reading Stars Above. I actually did take a break between like this series and the short stories. I actually read a different book in between, and we'll get there. I really enjoy the Lunar Chronicles. If you have never read it, it is a sci-fi, futuristic, dystopian sort of series. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, what do I want to say, like a Star Wars almost, because there is a spaceship, and then like the friends are all introduced to each other slowly, and it just, I love their companionship. There's a little bit too much like matchy-matchy of relationships, in my opinion, in that series, but I like it because it's easy to read. There is one more book in the series, and it's actually this one right here behind me. It's called Fairest, and it is the story of the villain from the Lunar Chronicles. And I can't read it. It makes me really uncomfortable. So I don't like that one very much, and I've actually never read the whole thing. I know there are people who really like it. Maybe one day I'll be strong enough to read it. I'm just not there right now. But I did read all of the Lunar Chronicles pretty quickly. I think within a week I read all of these. I just blew through them because I really enjoy the story. It's not like a complicated story. I love the way that it's written. I actually really even like the font in the books. And also, the font size is big enough that I can read it, so it's not difficult for me. Sometimes I do have a little bit of trouble when the font size is too small. Oh, also, I want to go through a couple of books that I bought recently. Just like a miniature haul, because I did buy a couple of things, and they might seem a little bit frivolous, but I love them, and so I want to show them to you because I love them. So I think this was actually the first book that I read this year, and it's called Flipped. It is a very cute story. There is a movie adaptation of this book. It's very sweet because I think they're in like the 8th grade, these kids in this story, but essentially the story is told from Bryce's point of view and from Juliana's point of view. So you see the same events happen, like the same timeline, but you see it from two different perspectives, so you get to see how they misunderstand each other and why they misunderstand each other. It's sort of sweet, and I really like how it's like divided up. Like up here it says Bryce. Obviously that is from Bryce's point of view, and when it is Juliana's point of view, it says Juliana on the bottom. So it's very easy to read. It doesn't like mix you up. Sometimes when authors tell stories from different perspectives, you kind of get lost because they don't make it clear about who is talking or where things are, you know, coming from. But I really like the way that it's written. I'd never read that book before. I bought this in our New Year's Eve book haul. It was used. It was very cheap, $5. Paperback. It's really cute. I'll probably read it again. It was really fast read, and I really enjoyed it. I like the movie too, but I had never read the book, so I wanted to read the book, so I started the year with a really cute, sweet story. I didn't actually read the whole Lord of the Rings series in 2022. I finished it in 2022. I started this book on our cruise in November of 2021. And then when we came home from that trip, I just put it down and I walked away, and I was really sad because I was so busy and I didn't have time to like pick it up and read it. I would read a page here and there, but it's so much easier to read on vacation because there aren't other things that need to be done. But I finally finished it. I love this story so much, and I totally forgot how much I loved The Two Towers. Like, specifically the second book is such a good book, and I also have some bones to pick with the movies. Like, I love the movies, and we did finally buy the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I think they're better. There's not a whole lot added, but what is added I think is valuable, and I'm sad that they cut all that stuff out. But the Two Towers book makes me so happy because there's actually, I think it's book 5 or book 6, that Sam and Frodo don't appear in the whole book at all. Maybe it's 3 or 4. I don't remember, but there's one book in here, because each, like, there are 3 books, but each of those is made up of 2 books, I think. Anyway, I loved it. It makes me really happy. I will never read it in this format again, because this is huge. The font is too small. Like, I can read it, it's fine. The pages are not too thin, but it's so big and so heavy and so clunky. Now, I'm glad I took this on vacation with me, because if I had just taken one book, like the Fellowship of the Ring, if I had just taken the first book, I would have run out of stuff to read. So I had this, and I'm glad I had it with me. But when I'm at home reading this, and I'll probably never travel with this again, but I don't think I will ever read it out of this format again. This, I think, is the 50th, yeah, the 50th anniversary 1-volume edition. It's beautiful. I love it. I think there are some maps and maybe a couple of illustrations in here. But I don't want to read it in a big, thick, clunky book format again, so I won't be doing that. So, the last physical book that I have to talk about is this one right here. This is Pride and Prejudice. It's beautiful. I bought this at a used bookstore in Alaska, and I think this one is the Oxford Society. Hold on. Oxford Library of the World's Great Books. This book doesn't even have an, was it ISBN number? It doesn't have one of those. So it's, I won't call it limited edition, but I think it was like exclusive to subscribers of the Oxford Library, I think. I really enjoyed this format because the font size is really big, and it's not like a large font, but there are illustrations in here. I'm gonna see if I can find one, because they have character. Here's Elizabeth. Like, she doesn't look like that to me, but that's what she looks like to the illustrator in here. We have some company. But anyway, I did read Pride and Prejudice one more time. I can't stop with that book. I love it so much. I have a great time every time I read it. I feel like I learn something new, or I like somebody more or less. And then I have read a bunch of like retellings, fan fictions of Pride and Prejudice, because I can't get enough of the characters and story. And so I always like to compare like the real thing to what other authors have created from those characters and from that storyline, and I love going back to the original. Now, I do have several other copies of Pride and Prejudice over here. Basically, what I want to do is I want to work my way through all of my Pride and Prejudice copies, because I have a bunch of them, and I want to read Pride and Prejudice in each of these formats to see which one I like the most and which one I like the least. Not that I'm going to get rid of any of them, but I want to understand, or I want to have a favorite, you know. Maybe I won't have a favorite, but that's one of my goals. I need you to move because I need something that's under your body. There are 4 books that I read on my Kindle app, and they're part of a series that I found on Amazon in 2017 or 2018, and I've read it every year since. My goodness, calm down. It is a fantasy story, and it's very heavy into like crystals, which is weird because I found it about the same time that I found the Air Awakens series, and they're not the same, they're not even very similar. But this story is called The Records of the Ohanzi. There are 4 books in the reflection portion of the series. And I say that because you would think, oh, there's only 4 books in the series, which is not true. That's what I thought when I started reading this series. There are actually more books in the series. They're just a different section of the story, so it has a different like section title. I have not read them. There's only one that has been published. I don't know if she's even working on the last one anymore. So basically when I read this story, I have to read all but like the last chapter of the last book, because if you read the last chapter of the 4th book, it feels like a cliffhanger. But if you stop right before that, then it feels like a complete story, even if it doesn't feel like a very thoughtful story. It's a fun story. It's interesting. The main character is a princess that kind of has to fight for her title because it is stolen from her, and so it's a fun story. I do really like it. She is capable, and I appreciate that. She is willing to learn, which is necessary, but there are just a bunch of elements in the story that I wish were more thoughtful. So I like it. It's an easy read. If I'm in what I call like a book slump or a reading slump, and I can't seem to get into the mood to read, I like to read something really quick, like a quick and easy read. And so that's one that typically I will pull out, and it gets me out of a slump, and I can just sort of read it quickly and then feel like I've got the momentum to read something else that I might actually enjoy more but will require more time for me to finish. I hope that makes sense. But those are the books that I have read so far this year, and then a couple of like fan fiction stories, but I'm not going to talk about those. I don't even know if they count as books. I have read them. They're in my Goodreads. I don't know how to link my Goodreads account, but if you're interested in following me on Goodreads, you can do that if you want to. Now I want to talk about a couple of books that I bought recently. Let me put my books away and I'll come back and I'll show you a couple of books from my book haul. I really only have 3 books that I want to show you. The first one is called A Whole New World. This is part of the Twisted Tales by Liz Braswell. I have 2 of them already. I have As Old as Time and Once Upon a Dream. I have not read them, but I've been slowly collecting them, used editions, because I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on them, but I do know that my friend Sherry loves them and collects them and reads them, so I want to start collecting them. Now, she likes the paperbacks. I prefer the hard copies. This one's a hard copy. So I have 3 now, so I think I'm ready to start reading those, and then I do have some space where I can expand that if I like them, and if I don't, I will take them to a bookstore and get rid of them. But that Twisted Tale series, I'm excited about all of them. Like those 3, Aladdin and the Beauty and the Beast one, and then the Sleeping Beauty one. I'm excited about those. So now I have 2 others, and these are like second copies of books, or additional copies of books that I already own. And you're probably thinking, do you really need to have another copy? No, I don't, but I wanted these, and so I bought them. The first one is this 50th anniversary edition of The Hobbit. It is in a like leather type slipcover, so getting the book out of here is actually not fun. But it's gold and shiny and illustrated, which I love. And I couldn't say no to this, because also, I mean, I'm a sucker for a map, I'm a sucker for an illustration, and then the font size in here is really easy to read. I really like the larger print. So there's that. I bought this at a used bookstore. so it feels like it has a story. Let me put this one away. And I have one more I want to show you. So I told you I read Pride and Prejudice. This one is gigantic, okay? And the what do you call this? Dust jacket is in terrible shape. But this one was a gift from someone's mother, Christmas of 1943 or 93. I'm guessing it's 93. I can't tell. But this is the large print edition of Pride and Prejudice. It is so big that, I mean, I could read this from across the room. And I'm just thinking that this is something I'm going to treasure my entire life. So if one of these days I really can't see well enough to read the smaller print, I will at least have this one so I can continue to read my favorite story in a large print format. Also, this was $2.50. I couldn't say no. I had to say yes. So it came home with me. And then, okay, without the dust jacket, it's actually really beautiful. I don't know. I just think it's so pretty. So I'm not going to get rid of the dust jacket. Originally, this thing sold for $7.95. So, I mean, again, it doesn't have one of those ISBN numbers. So it's just really difficult to find a large print edition of Pride and Prejudice. At least I couldn't find one on thrift books. Or Better World Books. I was looking just to see like how much is a large print edition of Pride and Prejudice, and this one was right there for $2.50, and I couldn't say no. So this one came home with me, and I'm going to treasure it forever. So it gets to live on this shelf with all of my other Pride and Prejudice editions and Jane Austen collections. And I'm very, very happy, and I'm in love with it. So now I want to talk about a reading challenge that I did. I think I mentioned this in a different vlog, but I want to talk about it here. So I was getting all of these ads on Instagram from Bookleaf Publishing about a reading challenge. And if you read for at least 1 hour every single day for 21 days, then they will send you a commemorative like Jane Austen Readers Trophy. And of course I want that, you know, I want that. So I signed up. It is $39, I think, to sign up, and they send you the trophy. And then I think they limit the reading challenge to 50 people every month. And if you are one of the top 15 readers, meaning you read more than 35 other people in the group, if you have one of the 15 highest reading times for the 21-day challenge, you win a bookshelf full of books. Now, it's a very interesting looking bookshelf, and I don't think you get to pick the books. I think the selection period or selection process for my reading challenge, which is finished now, so my trophy should be in the mail. I think the selection process is still in process for the winners of the bookshelves. I think that's really cool that they give away 15 bookshelves full of books. I think that's really, really cool. It might be a scam. I don't know. We'll see. They say that the trophy is supposed to arrive in, I think they said 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll see. I'll update on that maybe in the next quarterly reading update. I'm thinking maybe I'll read some more Nancy Drew in the next quarter because I want to get back into those. I've also thought about reading this one, because if you know me and we talk about books, I'm probably going to tell you to read Titans by Layla, I think it's Meacham, but this is Dragonfly. This is set in World War II. I've never read this one. It sounds fascinating, and I really want to read this one. Also, it was on clearance for $5.97, and I can never say no to a clearance book. I love cheap books. I love them, especially when it's like a good story or an author that I love. So I think I want to read this one in this next quarter. Also, I would like to read the Red Queen series. Let me show you that one. I have the whole series and I've never read it, so let me show you the first book. This one. So I've never read the series. I would really like to. I started it, but I never like finished the first chapter. I got, oh, there's even a bookmark in here. I did finish the first chapter. See? On chapter 2. So I never finished, I guess I finished the first chapter but never moved on. So I do want to read this series because from what I remember of the first chapter, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I don't have a good reason for not reading more of this story other than that I was reading something else. And so I just wanted to like try a chapter of this one, and I liked it. So I'm looking forward to finishing this book, and then if I like the book, maybe I will read the series since I do have the whole series up there. And then, oh, I'm also working on a like business book. It's called The Disney Way, and so I'm enjoying that. Please ignore the pig grunting. My dog is desperate for attention, so I don't understand. But I think that's gonna be it for today. What have you been reading? Let me know. If you're interested in the book challenge, I will see about linking it, or just like message me on Instagram and I will talk to you about it. I liked it, but there were some things about it that made it a little bit complicated and a little bit less fun than I had thought, but it did kind of instill more or better reading habits, more consistent reading habits in me. So there's that. But I know I keep saying that's it, but really this time that's it. You guys will see me in another video really, really soon. Bye everybody.